If you've ever been sacrificed by the people who were supposed to protect you, stay right here. Because what I uncovered didn't just break me, it shattered every lie they built my life on. My name is Evelyn Carter. I'm 32 years old, and for most of my life I believed a story that was never mine to carry. The night everything changed didn't feel important at first. It was just a phone call. My mother's voice, soft, too soft. The kind of sweetness she only used when she wanted something. "Baby, come home. We miss you. It's your brother's engagement dinner." I hadn't heard her call me baby in years. Not since I was a child who still believed her. But 2 days later, an envelope arrived on my desk that made that call feel like a trap that had been waiting for me my entire life. It was from an insurance company. And it wasn't addressed to Evelyn Carter. It was addressed to Evelyn Hayes, a name I hadn't heard since I was a little girl, before my stepfather erased it from our lives. My hands trembled as I opened it. By the second line, my entire past collapsed. For 32 years, I had been told one thing over and over again. Your father left you nothing. He died broke. He abandoned us. And it was your fault we struggled. But that letter told a different story. A story they buried. A story they stole. And in that moment, I made a decision. If they built their lives on lies, I would tear it all down with the truth. But to understand how I got there, you have to go back. Back to a small, dim kitchen in a narrow row house where everything first began to feel wrong. I was 7 years old. The house sat in a quiet, worn-down neighborhood. Rows of aging brick homes lined shoulder to shoulder like they were holding each other up. Our front steps dipped slightly in the middle from decades of footsteps. Inside, everything smelled faintly of dish soap and old wood. The kitchen faced a narrow alley. That's where my mother stood every evening. At the sink, washing dishes that never seemed to end. She wore the same faded apron, cream-colored once, now worn thin at the edges. The pockets were frayed from years of use. I remember the exact moment everything shifted. It started with a simple question. A question about money. A girl in my class, Madison Clark, came to school with a bright plastic case for her dental retainer. She talked about her dentist visit like it was normal, like it was something everyone had. She said her parents' insurance covered everything. That word stayed with me. Insurance. So that evening, standing behind my mother, I asked, "Why don't we have insurance like that?" She didn't turn around. She just kept scrubbing the plate in her hands, harder than before. The sound of porcelain against the sink echoed in the quiet kitchen. Then she said it. "Your father was a good man, but he left us nothing." Her voice was flat, practiced. That's why we don't have things like that. No hesitation. No explanation. Just a conclusion I was expected to accept. Now go wake your brother. That was it. Conversation over. I remember gripping the edge of the silverware drawer as I turned away. It wouldn't open. It never did on days she was home. I didn't understand it then. But I would. 2 years later. I was 9 the first time I saw what was inside. It was a Saturday morning. Cartoons played softly in the living room, but I wasn't watching. I had seen where she hid the key. A small hook behind the cabinet knob. I had watched her place it there 100 times. That day, I reached for it. I dragged a chair across the kitchen floor, climbed up, and took the key down with shaking fingers. The drawer opened with a soft click. Inside, everything was neat, too neat. A set of silverware we never used. A small bank book I couldn't read. A folded wool sweater that clearly belonged to a man. And a gold pin. Small, heavy, important. An eagle engraved in the center. Letters curved along the top. I didn't understand them, but I knew one thing instantly. This didn't belong to the life we were living. I was still holding it when the back door opened. My mother stood there, frozen. Her eyes locked onto my hand. That belongs to a friend. Her voice was sharp, controlled. Put it back. She took it from me before I could respond. Placed it carefully back in the drawer. Then slammed it shut. The cabinets rattled. She locked it immediately. And just like that, the moment was gone. She didn't ask why I opened it. She didn't want to know. Because questions lead to answers. And answers were dangerous in our house. That night, I had a dream. A man stood in my doorway. Tall, still, wearing that same pin. I couldn't see his face, only the outline of his shoulders. When I woke up, I couldn't shake the feeling that I had seen him before. But no one ever spoke about him. The next year made everything even clearer. My younger brother, Ethan, started attending a private school. A beautiful one. Uniforms, tuition, prestige. He was 4. I was 10. And I was going to a public school with stained carpets and broken lockers. I didn't understand how we could afford one, but not the other. So I looked. I found the tuition contract hidden in my mother's binder. $5,200 a year. I wrote the number in my notebook. Then underneath it, I wrote something I didn't fully understand at the time. That's a year of my life. Around the same time, my stepfather, Daniel Carter, showed up one morning with a brand new truck. Bright red. Still smelling like the dealership. We had been struggling, hadn't we? That's what I'd always been told. That Christmas, my mother unwrapped a designer handbag. She said a customer gave it to her. No one questioned it. But my half-sister Lily noticed. She already has one like that, she whispered to me outside on the porch. Cold air wrapped around us. She gets one every year. She didn't understand what it meant. But she knew something didn't add up. So did I. That night, I wrote in my hidden notebook. Why does she have more than one? Years later, that question would come back to haunt me. But nothing compared to what happened when I was 17. That was the night the lie became permanent. I had been working quietly for years. Cleaning tables. Saving tips. Holding on to every dollar like it mattered, because it did. I had saved $67. Not much. But it was mine. My glasses had cracked, and I needed new ones. I planned everything. I even picked out the frames. For once, I was going to solve my own problem. I placed the money on the kitchen counter. And then she walked in. She saw it instantly. Where did that come from? Tips. Give it to Daniel. No. It was the first time I had ever said that. And it cost me everything. Her hand moved so fast I barely saw it. The money flew off the counter, scattered across the floor. And then came the words. The words that shaped the next decade of my life. Your real father left us nothing because of you. Her voice cut through me. He died broke, and you're the reason we're still struggling. I froze. You think anyone owes you anything? She continued. He owed us everything, and he gave us nothing. I believed her. Every word. Because she was my mother. And mothers don't lie about things like that. Right? I got on my knees and picked up every dollar. I didn't cry until the next day. And even then, I cried quietly. Because I had learned something important. Pain was something you handled alone. That was the day I stopped asking questions and started surviving. But survival has a cost. And one day, it demands the truth. The years that followed didn't feel like living. They felt like repayment. Every word my mother had said that night became a weight I carried into adulthood. If my father had left nothing, then everything I had to earn. No help, no excuses. Just work. By the time I started college, I had already learned how to survive on exhaustion. My alarm went off before sunrise. Every day. I worked mornings in a quiet archive room, feeding old records into machines that hummed like they were alive. Names, dates, histories of strangers passed through my hands like ghosts. I remember staring at those files sometimes, wondering what it would feel like to belong to a story that mattered. Afternoons were classes. Evenings were spent in a small photography studio across town. My boss, Mr. Perlman, never asked questions. He just left food beside my desk sometimes. You need it, he would say quietly. I never told him how right he was. Weekends were the hardest. Back at my mother's diner. Unpaid. Expected. I washed dishes until my hands went numb, while my brother, now older, confident, successful, sat in a booth doing homework, untouched by any of it. Move faster, my mother would shout. Or don't come at all. But I always came back. Because somewhere deep inside me, I still wanted her approval. I still believed I had something to prove. One night, driving back from the diner, my car ran out of gas. I didn't call anyone. I walked. Alone. In the dark. That's how my life felt back then. Like walking through darkness with no one coming to find me. By the end of that year, I was barely holding myself together. No sleep. No energy. No one noticing. But something strange began to happen. Small moments. Tiny cracks in the story I had believed. One morning, while working in the archives, I came across a file. A death record. An electrician. Young. Gone too soon. But what caught my attention wasn't his death. It was what came after. A payout. A benefit. Support for his child. My hands froze. I didn't know why. But something about it didn't feel distant. It felt close. Too close. I pushed the thought away. I had learned to do that well. Ignore anything that didn't fit the story I was given. But life has a way of bringing truth back. Whether you're ready or not. Years passed. I graduated. Barely. My mother came alone. She handed me a small envelope afterward. A few bills inside. We did what we could, she said. I nodded. Like I always did. Grateful. Silent. Still believing. Still blind. I got a job soon after. Tracing family histories for strangers. Helping people find where they came from. It was almost ironic. I spent my days uncovering truths for others, while never questioning my own. Until one day, the past stopped staying buried. The change didn't come loudly. It came quietly, in the form of a letter. It arrived on a normal day, buried between bills and junk mail. I almost threw it away. Almost. The envelope was old, slightly worn. My name was written in handwriting I didn't recognize. Inside was a single sheet of paper, and a name I hadn't seen in years. My father's. My chest tightened. I hadn't heard anything about him since the night my mother told me he left nothing. Nothing. But this letter, it told a different story. It mentioned attempts to reach me. Calls. Messages. Missed visits. My hands started shaking. Because I knew one thing for certain. I had never received any of them. Not a single one. I read the letter 3 times. Then a fourth. Each time hoping I misunderstood. Each time realizing I didn't. He had tried to reach me. For years. My mind raced back. No calls. No messages. No visits. Nothing. Or at least, that's what I was told. A cold thought settled in. Not that he was gone, but that something had been kept from me. Hidden. Controlled. For the first time in my life, I questioned my mother. That night, sleep never came. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, the letter resting on my chest like it weighed 1,000 pounds. Every sentence I had read kept replaying in my mind. He tried to reach you. More than once. The words wouldn't leave me alone. I turned onto my side, then my back again, but nothing helped. My thoughts were louder than silence. Memories began to surface. Moments I had never questioned before. Times when I asked about him and was quickly shut down. Don't bring him up again. Times when the phone rang, and she answered it in another room. Times when letters came and disappeared before I could even touch them. At the time, I never thought twice. I trusted her. I believed her. I built my entire understanding of him from her words. But now, those same memories felt different. Distorted. Incomplete. What if he didn't disappear? The question hit harder this time. What if he was pushed out? A deep, uncomfortable feeling settled in my chest. Not anger. Not yet. Something heavier. Doubt. For the first time in my life, I wasn't just questioning my father's absence. I was questioning the story I had been raised on. And that terrified me more than the truth itself. The room felt smaller. Colder. Like everything I believed was slowly closing in on me. By the time the sun began to rise, I was still awake. Still thinking. Still fighting the same thought. Maybe I never knew the truth at all. I sat up, grabbed the letter again, and read it one more time. But this time, I didn't read it with fear. I read it with intention, because something inside me had shifted. Something quiet, but unbreakable. For years, I had accepted everything without question. For years, I had stayed silent. Not anymore. I got out of bed, my hands steady for the first time since the letter arrived. And in that moment, I made a choice. I wasn't going to live in doubt. I wasn't going to carry someone else's version of the truth. I was going to find out what really happened. No matter what it cost me, I didn't go to work that day. For the first time in years, I chose something else over responsibility. The truth. The letter was still in my hand as I stood outside the house. Nothing had changed. Same walls. Same windows. Same silence. But it didn't feel the same anymore. This place suddenly felt unfamiliar. Like I had been living inside a version of reality that wasn't fully mine. I opened the door slowly. My mother was in the kitchen, exactly where she always was at that hour. Coffee in one hand, routine in the other. She glanced at me. "You're not at work?" Her voice was calm. Normal. Too normal. I stepped inside, closing the door behind me. "I need to ask you something." She didn't look up right away. "Make it quick. I'm busy." My fingers tightened around the letter. This was it. No turning back. Did he ever try to contact me? The question cut through the room. Clean. Sharp. Bien. She froze. Just for a second. But I saw it. That pause told me more than words ever could. Then she turned slowly. Her expression controlled. Cold. "Why are you asking that?" I took a step forward. "Because I got this." I placed the letter on the table between us. She looked at it. Didn't touch it. Didn't need to. She already knew. "That doesn't mean anything," she said flatly. My heart started pounding. It says he tried. Calls, letters, visits. He's lying. The answer came too fast. Too rehearsed. I shook my head. I never got anything. Not one call. Not one message. That's because there was nothing to get. Her tone sharpened now. Defensive. I felt something inside me crack. "Then explain this." Silence. Heavy. Uncomfortable. For a moment, I thought she might tell the truth. But instead, she picked up her coffee like the conversation didn't matter. "You're digging into things that don't concern you." That was the moment. The exact moment everything changed. Because for the first time, I didn't back down. "It does concern me," I said, my voice steady but shaking underneath. "It's my life." She looked at me then. Really looked at me. And for the first time, there was something in her eyes I had never seen before. Not anger. Not disappointment. Fear, that look in her eyes. It stayed with me. Fear. Not for me, but of me. Of what I might find. The room felt different now. Smaller, tense, like something buried for years was about to break through the surface. "You're overthinking this," she said, turning away again. "He walked out. That's the truth." No, I replied quietly. That's your truth. Her hand stopped midair. Slowly, she set the cup down. You don't know what you're talking about. Then tell me. My voice didn't rise. It didn't need to. I deserve that much. Silence stretched between us. Heavy. Uncomfortable. Real. For a moment, I thought she would shut me down again, like always. But something had changed. Maybe it was the letter. Maybe it was the way I didn't back down. Or maybe she was just tired of holding it in. He wasn't good for us, she finally said. The words came out slower this time, less controlled. I stepped closer. That's not what I asked. Her jaw tightened. You were too young to understand. Then help me understand now. Another silence. Longer this time. Her eyes flickered toward the letter on the table. Then back to me. He made promises, she said quietly. And then he broke them. My chest tightened. That's not the same as never trying. She didn't respond. Didn't deny it either. And that was enough. A crack. Small. But real. So he did try, I pressed gently. Her expression shifted again. This time, not anger. Not even fear. Something closer to guilt. I did what I had to do, she said. The words hit harder than anything else. Not what she said, but what she didn't. My heart started pounding again. What does that mean? She looked away. And in that moment, I knew. The truth wasn't missing. It was hidden. And she was the one who hid it.